Hello folks, today I'm going to be taking a look at another classic fantasy box from Wargames Atlantic as I check out the Landsknecht Ogres. Alright, let's take a look at some classic fantasy ogres from Wargames Atlantic. This box contains 9 multi-part hard plastic figures. On the back you see some fluff about them. They can be built either as classic fantasy or they can be built as sci-fi for their Death Fields game. Also D20 approved, the swingiest of all dice. Terrible shame, but maybe D6 was on holidays, I don't know. The box contains 6 sprues. There are 3 of sprue A and 3 of sprue B. So, sprue A, as I've christened it, is the body sprue for the ogres. So we have 3 torsos and legs. They are hollowed out at the front, and we have the breastplates here. Keyed specifically to each of these. You could mix and match them, but if you do, you will be required to do some extensive rebuilding of your own. Head-wise, we have many. You can see here one with a beret on smoking a big stogie, one with a skull cap, bare head here. So, as usual with Wargames Atlantic, you get a plethora of heads and other options. So, sack on head. Essentially, you've got bare heads, helmeted heads, beret heads, and then there's also a couple of armoured versions. One for the fantasy, which has got the sort of 17th century, I can't remember the name of the helmet, conquistador / English Civil War style crested helm with their matches hanging out of their mouths for their matchlock cannon. And then there's also a set of helmeted heads on the other sprue for the sci-fi version for Death Fields. Weaponry, again extensive. We have large drum mag assault weapons. We literally have cannon with their lifted off their limber for their handguns. There are double-handed weapons, both halberd style and great sword. It's a magnificent sword. And everything is numbered and lettered to put the relevant weapon with the relevant weapon arms where needed. So that's our first sprue B, as I'm calling it. Sprue B or not sprue B. This contains additional weaponry and fun. So up here we have our sort of World War II US style helm. We have another one of the braid. We have some mohawk gentlemen, flagon and shotgun. There is a 2-piece spear here, and here is the other part. And then up here we also have some pistols, some large flat caps, feathers, shot pouches or money bags, the choice is yours, grenades, and then a pair of daggers. One is a broken, probably a broken sword belonging to a poor, much crushed human, and then the other is a modern sort of military knife with the serrated back as well. So an extensive amount of pieces on here. And the detail is lovely. It's not a uniformed uniform. They are, after all, the Vain. Everybody gets their own sort of outfits, as we shall now see with some built examples. Okay, we will start with some Landsknecht fantasy versions. As you can see here, I have a dashing fellow, pistols, festooned, and shame that's not a sword breaker, actually. A sword breaker would have been really nice. You can make it into one. file out a set of notches down the front of the blade. But anyway, I digress. Build's very, very simple for something like this. The fact that the cockades and hats are optional means you can have them all bareheaded. You can add them on to everybody. You can pop them on top of some of the skull caps. You can even pop them on top of some of the sci-fi versions as well, just for novelty value. To give you an idea of scale, he is 35 millimeters to eye level and just shy of 40 to the top of his hat. So a respectable size for an ogre, and he'll fit on a 40mm square beautifully. Then we have our executioner with executioner's sack on his head. And I built one of the hand cannon gentlemen as well. So in the main, really simple to put together and clean casting as well. Obviously, you're going to get mold lines on the plastics. There are a lot of flouncy pieces on these because of all the slashed silk. However, they've done a really nice job with the sprue design layout, that you're not getting huge slabs of flat area where there should be ruffles or creased silk. There are some sacrifices that have had to be made because of that. So you may see unusual little crushed pieces, but nothing that detracts from the sculpt, and it all holds together very nicely. So those are our Fantasy Vain. Then we have our Ura Deathfields versions, plucked from their time to fight in a terminable war game. So Sarge with stogie and combat shotgun, always good for a laugh. This arm may or may not be the right arm for that. We'll get to that in a moment. You can see the big shoulder pad there. But again, lovely looking gentleman. Like I say, he could have had a flouncy hat and it would still be fine. He's got all the grenades because he likes it when things explode. Onwards and upwards. And my final and my favourite, there is a set of ammo that's hanging together and drifting out of the side slot. They look like massive shotgun shells. So perhaps that's what this is, some sort of drum mag shotgun. He's giving it Dixie as he goes blattering away. Kabang, kabang, kabang. So, like I say, all of the builds were relatively straightforward, which gives a really nice set of miniatures at the end. The one thing I ran into, though, was a couple of the arms aren't listed. So this one here, for example, that doesn't have a number. That has a number, L8, which matches up with an R8 somewhere, which is this hand cannon. So this, and I initially clipped both of these off thinking that was a pair, and then discovered it wasn't. This arm's far too long and straight. And essentially I just eyeballed an arm to fit that. It's a little thing. Out of everything on the sprue, I think that's the only piece that isn't numbered, which is probably something that got changed and then accidentally left off. So with your shotgun, you'll have to eyeball it. But like I say, I went with that short cropped arm, which is actually paired up with another weapon on the first sprue, I believe. But since nobody can stop me because they're not here, I went ahead and took it. So, yeah, I think it's this L10 arm here I used. But considering you've got an absolute boatload of pieces, depending on what you want to build, you should be able to put them together without too much trouble. So there we go, 9 big glorious ogres in a box. Whether you're fantasy or sci-fiing it up, it's great value and they're terrific looking figures. Obviously, Some people may not want them for the sci-fi version. The fact that they've gone with the Vain, they're all puffed silks and slashes and multicolored delight, is very distinctive. But I think it is definitely a really nice change from 101 grim ogres all in American gear, walking forward looking like they've just walked out of the Vietnam jungle. So they didn't have to do the sci-fi option. There's more than enough on those sprues just to have it solely for fantasy. But being able to drop in some ogres for your one-page rules or ogrins for 40k, whatever it happens to be, it's a really good addition to the box and takes nothing away from it being a classic fantasy box set. Really, it's just adding extra, and that is something that I'm wholeheartedly in favour of. But yeah, let me know what you think below, if you've picked them up or are planning on doing so. Until next time, bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.